Good afternoon, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and here is your detailed forecast update on the tropical low that is meandering offshore from the Queensland coastline and expected to continue inundating the Cassaro coast, and then forecast to inundate the north-central Queensland coastline with torrential rainfall this weekend. All of that plus more coming up in today's forecast update on this system here. We're going to take a really detailed look at this system here. We're going to start off with a bit of a rainfall update, and then we're going to move to the tropical forecast. There's timestamps in the description down below, and you can skip around to what forecast suits you the best. But let's get straight into things. If you haven't already, then please consider subscribing and also leave a like on the video while you're at it. The support lately has been much appreciated. But let's get stuck straight into things with the rainfall update right now. So you can see the low pressure system is just offshore from about Belen and Kerr Fishery Falls, that sort of area. It's just towards the southeast of Cairns at this time, and it's wrapping itself up still quite nicely. However, the rainfall is now starting to ease off a little bit in terms of intensity and also in terms of its spread, which is really good news indeed, because let me tell you, far north Queensland, they really cannot cope with too much more rainfall on top of it. A lot of these rivers are now getting very close towards the major flooding alert up there, and more rainfall on top of what has already fallen is just going to be problematic upon problematic for them up there. So the rainfall, as you can see, is this low pressure system. It did briefly cross the coastline. It's now starting to weaken off and head a little bit further offshore. It is now starting to ease off here. So this is the Belen and Kerr weather station. They've already picked up about 850 millimetres over the past 3 days, with a lot falling in the past 3 hours as well. I think about 130 millimetres over the past 3 hours off the top of my head. So some really significant falls there. The heaviest falls have been around the Belen and Kerr Fishery Falls sort of area, extending up towards Gordonvale, which has picked up 180 millimetres since 9 a.m. so far today. Cairns has kind of missed out throughout the course of today, but we did really expect that to happen. And this low pressure system, as it moves further and further offshore and weakens off steadily throughout the course of today, this rainfall is going to continue to ease off in terms of intensity and also in terms of how much coverage it is. And you can really start to see on the radar imagery right now, it's just starting to ease off quite nicely. Light falls have been around the Innisfail area throughout the course of today. However, down towards Tully, they've managed to really cop some significant falls, especially in the last couple of hours or so. And Tully, over the past 3 hours, has actually picked up 160 millimetres of rainfall. So some really significant falls have happened around that area as well. In terms of rainfall over the past 3 days around Innisfail, it's been about 550 millimetres. Same deal with Tully, about 550 millimetres. Then, like I said, for Belen and Kerr, 880 millimetres, or an estimated 880 millimetres there. Clyde Road has picked up 803 millimetres. That's an official Bureau of Meteorology station, so we know that that's an accurate weather observation there. And like I said, peak rainfall accumulations were always going to be up to that sort of 900 to 1,000 millimetre mark. So bang on with the forecast again, this rainfall event. It was pretty easy to predict in the end. Speaking of predictions, let's cut to the chase here and talk about the forecast, which I know is what a lot of people are interested in. So starting things off, of course, with the initial rainfall forecast here as we move into the afternoon hours of Wednesday, the 29th of January. You can see the low-pressure system offshore from Innisfail, and it's expected to steadily weaken and kind of fall apart, to be honest, throughout the remainder of today and really broaden up. Now, this is going to bring the rainfall offshore here. There will still be showers, don't get me wrong, throughout the remainder of today, especially along the Cassaro coast and even further south down towards Ingham and Cardwell. And then right along the coastline, showers are actually expected to pipe up throughout this afternoon hours around the central Queensland coastline, around Ayr, Bowen, down towards Proserpine and Mackay. In fact, the showers down there could actually get quite heavy at times later on tonight into early tomorrow morning as this low pressure system heads further and further offshore, with torrential falls actually expected to wrap in on the southern side of this system. So don't write off the risk of heavy falls along the central Queensland coastline piping up from early tomorrow morning, especially for locations such as Townsville down through Ayr, Bowen, the Whitsundays, Proserpine, Hamilton Island down towards Yalborough and Mackay as well. Mackay is probably about as far south as this rainfall is going to extend, but you can see moderate to heavy falls here coming in from showers and thunderstorms starting from tomorrow morning, and they're going to continue for the foreseeable future, at least on the central Queensland coastline. What's going to happen is this low pressure system, once it does broaden up, it's going to lose a lot of its intensity, a lot of fuel, but it's going to head further and further offshore, where conditions are primed for this system to begin intensification once again. It's going to wrap itself up by the looks of things throughout Thursday and Friday, and then once again on Friday move closer towards the Queensland coastline. And in very similar fashion to how it was over the last couple of days, the bulk of the rainfall is going to be on the southern and in towards the western side of this system. The eastern, the southern and the western sides of this system are going to have the bulk of the rainfall, and that looks like how it's going to be as it moves in towards the coastline here, and on the southern side funneling in that rainfall, which will then start to get quite heavy at times from about Friday evening onwards for the areas around Hinchbrook Island, Ingham and Cardwell, Lucinda as well. We're expecting heavy falls to begin materialising there on Friday, and this is going to be after the showers start to come through. This is going to be the real heavy rainfall here. We are expecting, like I've said for the last couple of minutes, those heavy showers to be here and there along the central towards the north central Queensland coastline up towards Townsville and into the the far northern reaches of Queensland. We're expecting those showers to be heavy at times, but the rainfall is going to begin to pipe up from Friday night and into early Saturday morning. The rainfall is expected to be heavy throughout Saturday morning, and then getting heavy to intense at times of the Cassowary Coast, right down from Cairns right through to about Ayr. We're expecting heavy falls with locally intense falls between Innisfail down towards Lucinda. The heaviest falls will be around the Tully area, especially for the Tully River catchment. They're expecting some torrential rainfall. Thankfully, they missed out on the absolute worst of the rainfall over the last couple of days, but they're still expecting falls up to about 800 or 900 millimetres again on just this weekend alone. So on top of the 600 millimetres that some of those places have already picked up, we could be seeing week-long rainfall accumulations here approaching 1500 millimetres or perhaps even more than that just from this rainfall here. And I'll get to the rainfall accumulations town by town later on in this forecast update, but I just have to stress how much rainfall is coming in here for the Cassowary Coast. And considering it is already in a very flood-prone area and a place that has already received some significant rainfall, we're expecting flooding to begin pretty much right out of the gate on Saturday morning. The rainfall from this low-pressure system as it heads ashore Saturday afternoon is going to continue very heavy at times, intense actually, widespread between Innisfail down towards Ingham and Lucinda through Cardwell and Hinchbrook Island as well. Some really intense falls expected there. Saturday night, the rainfall is going to be intense. Sunday, right through Sunday, actually, the rainfall is going to remain intense around Cardwell. They're going to be swinging around from the northwest towards the northeast, these winds here, so the rainfall will be coming in from the north, which is where a lot of this rainfall hasn't already come from. So the conditions, the sea temperatures, especially up in the north or north of the Cairns sort of area, are still very warm. So any kind of convection that starts to move over that area is going to pick up a lot of showers and a lot of rainfall very quickly. And because the winds are going to be swinging around from the north as this low pressure system heads inland, that's why the rainfall is not going to stop once this low pressure system makes its effective landfall on Saturday afternoon. The rainfall actually continuing right through Sunday and into very early Monday morning. Still heavy showers expected right throughout Monday, and the rainfall doesn't properly ease off until at least Tuesday night into early Wednesday morning. There'll still be some showers in the vicinity here right through Wednesday and into Thursday, and then the rain finally clearing out by the looks of things by Friday the 7th. So we're looking at basically a week-long rainfall event here, but of course the bulk of the rainfall is going to be coming through over about 3 or 3.5 days for the central Queensland coastline. So in greater detail, and just to recap, we're expecting those heavy showers to begin developing around the Townsville, Ayr, Bowen, Proserpine, Whitsundays down towards the Mackay area from tonight into tomorrow morning. Those showers will be heavy at times tomorrow night and into Friday morning, continuing through Friday and Saturday, and then finally easing off by the looks of things on Saturday night. The showers will be easing off there for the central Queensland area. They're expecting some good rainfall accumulations. Widespread falls above 100 millimetres are expected, with isolated pockets up towards 250 or 300 millimetres also possible. 4 days of showers though, with a 300 millimetre total spread over about 4 days. It's nothing serious for the central Queensland coastline. In fact, that's going to be some very welcome rainfall, but considering it is from showers, we are expecting torrential falls. So whilst riverine flooding isn't the main risk around the Townsville, Ayr and down towards the Bowen and the Proserpine area, riverine flooding is still a possibility, but it's not the main risk. We're going to be talking about flash flooding in those areas. The real falls are going to be happening south of Cairns, in fact south of Berlin and Kerr, right down to about Townsville and Rollingston. So around Ingham, Lucinda, Cardwell and Tully, this is where the bulk of the rainfall is going to be, where the cursor is circulating right now. This is where the bulk of the rainfall is going to be, with Hinchbrook Island expecting to pick up the most amount of rainfall from pretty much any location in the north of Queensland from this weather event. It's been on the forecast for the last couple of days as well, so people are aware of this and they're certainly starting to prepare for it. And if you do want a bit of advice on preparations, you're best off checking your Shire office or your local police department, or like I said, Shire office. You can find some pretty good tips as well on the Bureau of Meteorology homepage, but I recommend if you live in a flood-prone area and you flooded on Cyclone Jasper or you've flooded on tropical cyclones before, prepare like that is going to happen again. We're seeing some really significant rainfall numbers here on the forecast. I mean, let's just jump over to the rainfall forecast right now, and you can see here 5-day rainfall accumulations are well above 1,000 millimetres here, and this is a conservative estimate as well. Between other forecast models, we're seeing numbers much higher than that. I mean, the GFS not so much because it is a low resolution forecast model, but you can see here on the axis, which proved very accurate across North Queensland in the previous rainfall event that happened over the last couple of days. You're looking at totals here up to about 1,200 or 1,300 millimetres. So if you flood on a normal tropical low moving through, then you certainly need to be preparing for some flooding, and some serious flooding at that, especially around the Tully area. Like I said, some really significant falls have already happened there. Expect to be cut off as well. Roads and river levels are not going to be restored, and they're not going to be dropping until at least Wednesday or Thursday next week, so have enough food to get you through there. Of course, don't panic buy. You don't need 2 weeks of supplies. That's just selfish, and it's going to drain the supermarkets really quickly. But definitely prepare for a couple of days of being isolated as well. Make sure you've got your cyclone kits ready as well, just in case the system does go tropical cyclone strength. It's unlikely, but it is still a possibility at this time. You've got a working radio, you've checked in with loved ones, and you've told them that there is a chance that you're going to be cut off, so not to worry until you can contact them again, which will probably be around Thursday or Friday. But yeah, certainly around the Ingham and Cardwell area, start preparing like there's 1,000 millimetres coming in, because on the forecast, all models are pointing towards about 1,000 to 1,100 millimetres. That's kind of the magic number at this time. Now, I'm a big fan of the Eastern Reverse. It's been a very accurate forecast model for me over the last couple of weeks. The axis was very accurate up in North Queensland for the last couple of days, but I just think that it's a little bit bullish at this time. It's certainly possible, but it is a little bit bullish. So we'll take a look at the conservative one, which is the Eastern Reverse forecast right now. And it doesn't even look conservative. I mean, the amount of rainfall that's going to be coming through over the next week, which is what you're looking at right now, 7-day rainfall accumulations, is huge. So starting in the north and heading further south, the Daintree Rainforest, Cape Tribulation, Port Douglas, Mossman, only expecting about 100 to 200 millimetres of rainfall. The majority of that's going to be coming through on showers, especially after about Saturday when those winds swing around from the northeast. They're expecting a good line of showers to be moving through up there. So spot accumulations up to 300 millimetres between Sunday, Monday and Tuesday are possible. Same story for Cairns. Nothing in the way of crazy rainfall expected until about Saturday, when they will be seeing some heavier falls start to materialise there. And I reckon Cairns, from showers that will be coming through later on from this rainfall event, Sunday, Monday and Tuesday, could be picking up about 300 millimetres of rainfall. Same deal with some of the peninsula out adjacent to Cairns on the east. Some significant falls possible out there. Gordonvale will pick up a further 150 millimetres today, pretty much guaranteed in the bag from when this video is going to be coming out. And then on top of that, probably about 400 millimetres throughout the remainder of this rainfall event, which is a lot more than what this forecast is suggesting. Like I said, it is likely a conservative forecast. Blend and Kerr should pick up 500 millimetres. I think that goes without saying. Wettest place in Australia, and by some measurements, wettest place in the world. They're going to be picking up some good falls there. And then south of Blend and Kerr through Innisfail and Tully, this is where the real rainfall is going to be materialising here. And I'll flick it over to the axis because this is a much more reliable and much more accurate look at what's going to be happening here. Probably about 450, 500 millimetres coming through for Innisfail. Tully, I would be surprised if they picked up less than 800 millimetres. I reckon they're going to get 4 figures from this rainfall event here. Maybe not so much for the Tully town centre, but I reckon some of the observations around it, such as Tonga Oil Alert and some of the river observations around the Tully River, 1,000 millimetres pretty much in the bag by the looks of things. And you can see, as per this forecast here, 1,000 millimetres from the Axis G3 forecast model, and then some significant falls again on top of that from the Eastern River forecast here. Typically a big low baller on the forecast. South Mission Beach should also pick up 1,000 millimetres. I think that goes without saying. Babinda probably closer to about 500 millimetres by the looks of things, because they are just a little bit further north by compared to Tully and Innisfail there. Further south, down towards Cardwell and Ingham and Lucinda. This is where we're going to zoom right in here. You can see Cardwell expecting about 1,000 millimetres on this forecast. I reckon that's a plausible number here. 1,000 is probably the most that they're going to end up with, but some of the mountainous and the mountainous valleys around Cardwell could pick up 1,000 millimetres. If I had to put a number for Cardwell right now, it's probably going to be about 700 millimetres, but regardless, flash flooding and riverine flooding is expected in the Cardwell vicinity. That's pretty much a guaranteed at this time. Observations on Hinchbrook Island, if there were any, they'd be picking up 1,300 millimetres, pretty much guaranteed as well there as well. They're expecting some really good falls there, and all of the rivers on Hinchbrook Island, all those creeks and valleys expected to be absolutely raging from this weather event here. Lucinda should get about 1,000 millimetres of rainfall, and considering their low-lying nature here, I mean, I don't think they're going to pick up 1,200 or 1,300 millimetres as per what this forecast is suggesting, but I do definitely reckon Lucinda's going to pick up close to about 1,000 millimetres, probably somewhere between that 800 to 1,000 millimetre mark. And like I said, low-lying nature there, the rivers around Lucinda are going to flood. Thankfully, Lucinda, whilst it is built on a floodplain, I am still expecting Lucinda to be fine. They're a little bit elevated just by a couple of metres, but certainly the Halifax Bay area, that river delta there, that's going to be underwater, and Lucinda and Halifax will likely be cut off for a couple of days, probably up towards a week actually. So in Lucinda, make sure you've got enough supplies to last you about a week or so. Roads should be restored once those floodwaters recede on about Thursday or Friday, but still you're likely to be cut off in those areas for a good couple of days from floodwaters. Ingham, probably about 700 millimetres there, probably a little bit wetter as you get further north. They could be seeing up towards 1,000 millimetres further north and a bit further inland from Ingham. And again, considering their low-lying nature right on a river, I'm expecting some flooding through the Ingham area as well. I don't think it to be too severe at this time, but certainly around Ingham we could be seeing some moderate riverine flooding in that area, and certainly some flash flooding as well from torrential falls that are expected Saturday and Sunday. Further south along the coastline, spot falls between 600 and 800 millimetres expected through Rollingston, and then down towards Townsville. There's some good falls expected there. I'm going to say for Townsville right now, between the two forecast models, there's at least 200 millimetres on the cards and probably a little bit more. I reckon Townsville will pick up about 350 millimetres of rainfall here, and it's all going to be coming in from the north as well, so it's pretty much guaranteed at this time, especially between Saturday, Sunday and Monday, with that rainfall coming in from the north east, I believe I said, yeah, northeast, the rainfall. There's not much in the way of it, so Townsville 350 millimetres with about 200 of that coming through in the 24 hours sometime around Sunday. Another 200 millimetres expected for Giru, probably about 250 for Ayr, especially with the showers that are going to be coming through over the next couple of days. Bowen probably about 200 millimetres as well, and then further south, Hamilton Island, the Whitsunday is expecting about 200 millimetres too. Proserpine probably slightly more, up to about 300 millimetres there, just considering the direction that these showers have been coming through. And you can see on this forecast model here, the axis, spot falls up to about 500 or 600 millimetres, also expected in the mountainous areas adjacent there. This is going to be spread over the course of about a week. So again, there is a lot of rainfall coming through, but 600 millimetres over the course of a week, it's not unheard of for this part of Queensland. And the rainfall is going to be torrential through showers. It's not going to be steady rainfall upheld for 6 or 12 hours at a time. So the rivers will get some breaks here and there, but I'm still expecting some significant flash flooding in the Proserpine and the Bowen area. And any rivers moving through here will be running at sort of the moderate to the major flooding alerts come Sunday night into Monday morning. Mackay probably about 200 millimetres, Gargett probably about 350 to 400 millimetres, and same deal with Yalborough as well, probably about 450 millimetres expected out there. And then further south down towards West Hill, right down through St Lawrence and Serena down towards Ogmore, probably about 100 millimetres through these areas here, probably up to about 200 millimetres as well in those areas. So some really significant falls are expected, but take them with a grain of salt. Those ones that I've listed for central Queensland are certainly on the side of the worst case scenario here. They're from the axis forecast, and you can see the axis spitting out 2,300 or 2,400 millimetres in the core of this low pressure system, which is exceedingly unlikely. That's some really significant falls indeed. But yeah, certainly expect some big time rainfall accumulations right down the central Queensland coastline. As far south as Mackay, you're expecting more than 150 millimetres of rainfall along the coastline, and pretty much anywhere up to about 100 kilometres inland as well. Unfortunately, it looks like for those inland communities such as Charters Towers and even up into the Atherton Tablelands, you shouldn't be seeing any more than 100 millimetres of rainfall in those areas. This is exclusively coastal based, but for some of the communities inland from Cardwell and Ingham right out towards Mount Surprise, down towards Charters Towers in this general vicinity here, some of the farmers in this country could be receiving some pretty significant falls, that's for sure. In terms of the risk of wind speeds and a tropical cyclone fully developing from this system here, it's not looking overly likely. I mean, it will certainly feel like a cyclone as this system makes its landfall. These wind gusts are expected to be in excess of about 80 to 90 kilometres an hour, and we do expect a little bit of a storm surge to come ashore sometime Saturday morning and into Saturday afternoon, coinciding with a high tide between Innisfail down towards Townsville. I'm expecting a storm surge of maybe 2 feet above the highest astronomical tide, so nothing crazy here, especially given the mountainous locations of these areas, but I do expect some coastal flooding and definitely some riverine flooding as well. These rivers getting backed up a little bit around Hinchbrook Island, up towards the Tully River area, the South Mission Beach area, and of course around Lucinda. That kind of goes without saying. I do expect Lucinda from about Saturday afternoon onwards to be pretty much completely cut off until at least the 5th or the 6th of February, and probably a little bit longer than that, unfortunately. So prepare like that is going to be happening in the Lucinda area, and same deal with Ingham as well, flooding through the area there. The rainfall is just going to be significant enough to cause that. This is certainly some really significant rainfall and something to take very, very seriously along the northern and the central Queensland coastline. Like I said, the wettest falls expected for multiple years in some of these locations here. For the Castlereagh Coast, it's certainly nothing unheard of, but still probably about the wettest week or the wettest period of time that we're going to receive this year or this wet season. Fingers crossed, because anything more than that would certainly be cause for concern. And the rainfall on top of what has already fallen will be causing some flooding problems, that's for sure, especially around the Innisfail and the Tully area, where falls of up to 600 or 700 millimetres have already been reported, and falls of another 600 or 700 millimetres are also possible in those areas. So peak rainfall accumulations over the course of this week, cumulatively with the rainfall event just gone and this rainfall event / tropical low / cyclone, whatever comes of it. I mean, the chances of a cyclone are very low. Peak rainfall accumulations should be up around that 16 to 1700 millimetre mark, which is not far off the rainfall that was reported from Tropical Cyclone Jasper. However, that was just a little bit further north into the Daintree rainforest and into the Cairns area, but certainly will feel like that, that's for sure, the rainfall accumulations. I am very nervous, but also quite excited to see some of the numbers from some of these weather stations here. We're certainly going to be seeing records falling, that's for sure. I don't have a doubt in my mind that we're going to be seeing records falling from this weather event here, especially around the Cardwell and the Tully area, which the wettest places in Australia are around here. So when records fall, you know that these low pressure systems do mean business. But these warm sea temperatures, just perfect conditions for thunderstorms and convection to be blowing up, are really going to be making the rainfall quite heavy, and these mountains are just going to wring the skies dry here with those 30 degrees Celsius sea temperatures. Some huge evaporation is expected, and once that gets itself ashore, which will happen happen this weekend. Those clouds are just going to be wrung dry completely, and all of that rainfall will become runoff and problems for the residents of far north Queensland. Any questions or comments on this, please do leave it in the comment section down below. I'd be more than happy to help people out. I know this is a nerve-wracking time for a lot of people. I don't want anyone to panic, and the same deal with panic buying as well. This is a significant weather event, but far north Queensland is built to flood, and if you live in an elevated area or a house on stilts, I don't expect you to experience any problems here. Lucinda is a concern. Lucinda is a very big concern at this time, and I wouldn't be surprised if evacuation orders were put in place around Lucinda. That's just the fact of the matter right now. Same deal with Ingham. It is a concerning time, but again, stay calm, and if you do live in a flood-prone area or your house is at risk of flooding, when you're talking about a storm surge of 3 feet and 500 millimetres in 24 hours on top of that, which, I mean, for the entire town of Lucinda, that's certainly a possibility at this time, and even for Ingham as well, unless your house is raised probably about 10 metres above sea level or 10 metres above the river on a normal day, then you're certainly at a risk of flooding. So prepare adequately is what I'm trying to say here. Sandbag, evacuate if you're placed under an evacuation watch or an evacuation order, and I would not be surprised if that was for wide swathes of North Queensland as well. But most importantly, stay calm, consult the Bureau of Meteorology, consult your Shire office, check in with loved ones as well on a weather event like this. Make sure you follow me as well. I'm going to be releasing twice daily forecast updates on this situation from here on out. Maybe not tomorrow, but certainly as this weather situation develops and unfolds across North Queensland. There's going to be plenty of coverage here on the CyclonesOZ channel and also on Facebook as well, so make sure you check me out on both places. This is certainly a really, really significant weather event, something to be taking really seriously, that's for sure. I don't mean to be panicking anybody, and if you are panicked, then flick me through an email. I'd be happy to give you a detailed forecast for your location and some advice as well. I just want everybody to be staying calm in a weather event like this. I know this is quite nerve-wracking, like I said, hearing that Lucinda's going to be cut off and Ingham's going to be under that significant risk of flooding. Keep in mind, we have been talking about the worst case scenario for rainfall, but it's unlikely that rainfall rates are going to be much lower than what I have been talking about, that's for sure. So we will take this situation day by day and have a look at how it unfolds hour by hour, but at this time, just try not to panic too much and make sure you are adequately prepared for this weather situation. But I've waffled for long enough, so thank you so much for putting up with me so far for the second update today. It's been a lot of talking today, that's for sure. Thank you so much for all the support recently as well. I'd be more than happy to help you out in the comment section and in emails as well. And a special shout out to the channel sponsors. Without them, I could not run this show, so their support is also much appreciated. But that is all from me today, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.